Good evening, guys. We got Ando in the house tonight, coming in from. He's affiliated with those Gambit podcast boys that we had some of them on earlier. So I wanted to get Ando on, but I didn't want to have them all like back to back to back to back. So we had to space it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me here. I was walking through the cave and I saw, Luke Skywalker hanging upside down. I was like, it's really nice to be in, the Yeti ice cave, man.
Yeah, you gotta lead them through the scenic route really to get to get to
Yeah.
the studio.
I thought to myself though, I was like, I should probably tell him to move that lightsaber a little bit further, Don't want
Yeah.
that to affect.
Yeah, if
But
that flies towards his hand, it could be issues. Could be curtains for the wee Yeti over there.
yeah.
Yeah, so Ando obviously is a Twitch streamer. Usually goes live. I want to say what around 8ish or something. Usually go around about 8 something.
Yeah, it kind of fluctuates depending on the day, but yeah, typically like 8:30, something,
So
sometimes before, sometimes after, but yeah.
yeah, that's one of the things. Like I've opened Twitch at weird times and you've been going, and then I've opened Twitch when I thought you'd be going and you're not going. So it's one of those where I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's hard to thumb
Yeah,
it down
sometimes
there.
yeah, it fluctuates, and it's fluctuated a lot because of personal family like appointments and stuff like that that I've had to go to
Oh yeah.
recently. But yeah, like it yeah, for sure, it is definitely. We've been trying to nail down a schedule, and it used to be 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like no matter what. But then yeah, just different things coming up and stuff like that. So
Yeah, life intervenes.
yeah, sometimes.
It's like you're trying. It's like the Ian Malcolm quote from Jurassic Park. Like life finds a way.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It finds a way to screw up your time schedule.
Yeah, life finds a way for me to not stream at the same time.
Yeah. Like that's one of the things I always kind of find difficult is trying to be super consistent. And like
Yeah.
when you're trying to be consistent for so long, and then all of a sudden something changes, and you're like, God damn it! All right, well let me just see if I can make it work. And then yeah, sometimes it gets
Yeah.
like a little bit off, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like as I'm Twitch, I feel like I'm at least somewhat, you know, uh reliable on, like, at least for the most part. It's YouTube that I'm like all over the place. I'm like I try to get, like, there was a while where I was like trying to upload videos like in the morning, then I was just like, screw it. Sometimes it's like 5 minutes before I go live. Like there's no upload schedule there.
Yeah, YouTube's is definitely a different beast. I'm not really a big fan of YouTube, and it's one of those ones where if I haven't put so much work into it, I probably wouldn't even bother. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's because I started on YouTube, and obviously I was a small account, small channel and stuff, and just building it up from scratch, and it was just one of those where I never really felt like I was going anywhere, and then like my first month on Twitch or something, I was like, this is amazing.
Right. Yeah. That's I started the other way around. Like I started on Twitch and then I got on YouTube and I was just like, man, there's just like, this is hard. Like this
Yeah.
is, I mean, I don't want to make Twitch sound like it's super easy, but like relatively speaking, like to each other, Twitch is so much more discoverable, because it's just, you click the category and it's like you can see all the people streaming, and
Yeah. Well,
so yeah.
Well, it's a weird one. Like YouTube actively moves people to the bigger already established channels. So
Right.
like trying to get any kind of headway in in those,
Yeah.
in the algorithm is rough. Like
Oh
I'll
yeah.
have videos with like several thousand views, and then they get like 30 likes, and you're like, fuck. You're like, just go
Yeah, yeah.
on. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like how
I
can
generally I genuinely think too, like, I think, like, I don't know, maybe I think, if you see an account that has 20,000 subs, you're just like, okay, well, like, this guy, I can
yeah, I'll
trust him,
just I'll just
and
sub,
like
yeah.
sub to him. And then if you see a guy that has a good idea at like 200 subs, you're like, oh, well, this guy, maybe he's, there's a reason why he doesn't have it, right? Or something like that. And
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, you're like, well, maybe this is wrong, like, or whatever the case is. Like, so you're like, screw this guy, and you
Yeah,
just like go on.
it's almost like mob mentality, but in a in like a
Exactly.
social
Yeah.
media sharing website.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's hard. Like, I mean, and that happens with Twitch too. I'm not complete. Like, if someone has 50 viewers, like, chances are people are going to take a shot on them rather than the guy that has three,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
100%. Yeah.
So it happens just probably on a much smaller scale on Twitch. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's one of those where you know it's kind of what we were, I don't know, just trying to do and get our channels some more views and whatnot, and it's almost weird because for the longest time I've just been looking at my YouTube just going like, I know I need to do more, but God, I get nothing from it. I just get
yeah,
nothing from it. Like,
it's hard. YouTube is really hard. Because like in streaming, what I've always told people, like I genuinely just like helping and conversating with people, but like
yeah,
just helping to, and there's that instant gratification. Like if you do something like that helps them, like there's been people that have been like, hey, like I'll be in the middle of GAC attacks and they'll be like, hey, there's a JML in here. I have so and so and so and so. And I'll be like, oh, just use, Darth Revan or something like that. And then they'll come back like, oh, like 5 minutes later, they'll be like, oh, dude, that worked out. Excellent. Like, on YouTube, a lot of times, like you sit there, you make the video, you edit it, you upload it, it takes maybe some time for it to get some traction. And so like all this stuff becomes very like that you're not sure, like, like
yeah, yeah,
did
yeah.
it help people, did it not, like is anyone even watching it type thing. So yeah, like that live feedback I feel like is what I really thrive on. Like, and I've gotten messages too, like from people. It says like, hey, like in the DMs, it's like, hey, watch your video for SLKR, worked excellent for me, keep up the good work. And that stuff is like what has kept me going on YouTube. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot harder, for me at
Yeah,
least.
when you get that comment that's like, "Oh, thanks, that works so great," you're like,
Yes.
vindication.
Yeah.
Like,
and then and then there's always the one guy that just loves to just like, bro, I use your video and like I failed every time, you suck, like, and you're like, bro. And usually like I've been like, let me check your mods, man,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I guarantee it. And then yeah, that's like 9 times out of 10 I'm just like, bro, your mods need some help, like let me help you out with this. But yeah, they're usually very hostile, is what I found.
Yeah, yeah. There's always someone who didn't like the flavor, so to speak.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, lot of stuff's been happening in game recently. What are you thinking about these Galactic Conquest things?
Uh, I mean, I do like them. I think they're interesting. I think they're a lot of fun. They're like as close to like I won't call it a sandbox mode, but it's just like almost like I'm trying to think of like of a good word that like people use, like in games, like there's like usually like just like a kind of a free for all, like, and you
Yeah,
just kind of get to do what you do. And like, I mean, I've seen my GMY hitting for like 500, 600K. It's just like it's not going to happen in the real game, but like it's
yeah,
almost like this little make believe spot that we can make this happen, which is cool. Like, I mean, there's certain ones that like when you get the build right, you're like, wow, that's actually really funny, or kind of weird or whatever. I like that aspect of it, but um man, it is a time sink, I think. Like, I mean, I was trying to do it on my main and my two alts now,
yeah. I was gonna
and
say
even
with
even
multiple
though
accounts, God, you must be like,
yeah, oh, yeah, it's brutal. I mean, and the other thing though that's great, like I guess for me, is that I'm not trying to be competitive on those other two accounts. So it's like it's just more like basically I got my, within the first 3 days or so I finished the normal one, or maybe it's 4 days, whatever it was, for my main account, and then now I've just been like slowly going through the other ones like whenever I can. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't think it's necessarily the game mode I was looking for. I mean,
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah,
Like, and I'm gonna wait. I'm not like I'm not totally against it though. Like, I understand that this is a good thing for people that don't dig into GAC, and there's a
yeah.
big population out there that don't like GAC. Like, it's a chore for them to do GAC because they know they're like they don't have an account that's like built for PvP. So
Or they
it's a
just what I always find is when someone doesn't like GAC, that's usually not even so much that their build is wrong. It's just that it's the repetitive nature of it. Like
that's true.
you
Yeah.
get the same teams on defense all the time, and
Hmm.
that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
like a guy I used to be in a guild with who's like he's a good player and he has fantastic mods and his account is just absolutely balls out disgusting.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't give a shit about GAC. Like he'll set a defense and then he kind of will go and check, and if the other person hasn't done anything, he'll go like clear out 2 teams with like some for science kind of approach, and
Right.
like that kind of thing, clear a zone and then call it a day.
Yeah.
So I think for someone like that, yeah, this might be a kind of a fun mode because you can try some different stuff and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head, like what I've been trying to say about it for the longest time, because I was initially extremely negative about it. Like I was super into it before I tried it, and then like I streamed it for 2 hours on that first day, and I was like, wow, no, that's
Yeah.
a big no for me.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like my first 2 sectors. I had like 2 teams were the majority of the sectors, so it was like
Yeah.
I think it was like half of the teams were Imperial troopers on the sector 1, and then half of the teams were like the Reflect Padme teams.
Yeah.
More than half for sector 2. I was like, this is stupid, and like
Yeah.
it was multiples of the same teams when they weren't those 2 predominant teams as well. It was just like, yeah, okay, way to go, CG, like that kind of thing.
Right.
But as I've played it more, I've actually liked it more. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
as I've
Yeah.
got more into the game mode, and more importantly, as I only use the energy they give me,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
For sure.
streaming it for 2 hours or whatever, I spent a couple of refreshes to keep doing stuff,
Yep.
and I was like, man, this is just lame. Like this is just over and over the same thing. But when you're only doing like 2-3 battles a day, it's actually a lot more
Yeah.
fun.
Right.
That's the thing that kind of jumped out at me. I was like, whoa. So the less I engage with it, the better it is. That's perfect because I didn't want to after that first day.
Right. Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, like I think right now, like if you can, yeah, if you do 2 to 3, maybe even 4 battles a day, you're gonna clear it within the first week, and then
Yeah.
that last week you can just focus on, okay, let's shore up those feats. That way we can get the next tier box, or like the max tier box, wherever you're trying to aim for. But yeah, like the first playthrough is just like, let's just knock these things out. And I was learning like as we go, like, yeah, the Padme team, like it's just like I was trying to like, because the one cool thing about, or maybe not the one, that's probably an exaggeration, but like one of the cool things about Conquest that I really liked was just like, okay, once you get the right data cards, like you can realistically like start bringing in like Ewoks and start like your gear 11 Ewoks and be like beating up on relic teams. And it's like, this is kind of fun. Like I kind of like watching Wicket hit for 200K. Like it's just kind of, it's an interesting thing, like, but then every once in a while you would go and be like, okay, yeah, cool. Same strategy. And then it'd be like one of those reflect teams, like you were saying, like Padme. And it's just like my Wicket just basically killed himself. It's just like great.
You're like, all right,
It's
Elder,
like,
do your job.
yeah, it's like great. So I'm gonna 1-star this one, or maybe lose it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you would have to be like, okay, well that's gonna be one that we have to go back and shore up on the replay. But yeah, I don't know. I like it.
The most fun I've had with it is my Mothma team with a bunch of leaders resolves.
Yeah.
Put like 3 leaders resolves, and then you bring in Mon Mothma, and it like shares all the stats, and then your Hoth Rebel Scout is just like mangling everybody. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I looked at that one. I was like, when I first saw that, I even put it in my Discord. I was like, does this sound like CLS Chupio to anybody?
Yeah,
or what?
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
It's just like, can you imagine even more stats added to that guy? But
Pro tip: leaders resolve with Grievous is
oh,
fun.
I'm sure. Gosh,
It's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
watch me one shot this entire team. Here we go.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's fun for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like
it's
talking about
for
this
the
kind
silly
of stuff,
the
it's pretty
silliness
funny.
of it is good.
Yeah, I agree.
But that was something once again that I had to kind of like get into it. But like what I was trying to say before is like, I think you hit it right. This isn't the game mode that I wanted, but this is the game mode that they delivered, and it's one of those where it's like, yeah, it's got its pluses and its minuses. It's all. I think it's ultimately very good for the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of feats even in the Galactic Challenges before. Like I was never one of those creators that jumped out and like tried to make, oh, this is how you get all the feats on Galactic Conquest, challenges. 10 seconds after the mode came out. That's not my game. I'm just like, I think I can get this. Oh, whatever. I'll do it before it's gone, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Right.
because that one, because for those it's the same thing. It's like you get it's like that smaller version of the conquest. You got
Right.
you've got
Yeah.
the one team you're allowed to use, and it's like the one team that they have, and they have these mechanics, and then you're going, okay, so how's this gonna work? All right,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. But with that in mind, the Razor Crest seems pretty solid. Do you think this is going to be a meta team or?
I think it will. Like, and I kind of held a opposite belief to some of the ships gurus in the Discord when it first released out, and just because there was just some really nice bits in the kit. Um, the one part that I do worry about is that there's no true capital ship for him. But I think like, I mean, I really think that like a Thrawn in there, like where you can just sort of like if Houndstooth or Razor Crest are getting low on health, like you got the reheal plus the Annihilate, which is gonna boost everyone back up. Like I mean, or whoever you select at least, as long and also with that, Annihilate with it. I think I think that it will beat Negotiators, but I don't know how well it's going to do against Malevolence because a lot of that's like the stacking defense and stuff like that. Truly just doesn't really care whenever you've got
Bunch of
those
buzz
buzz
droids
droids
on
on.
you. Yeah.
So yeah, like so I could see it being sort of like a little third party, like you just throw in there, or like a GAC fleet that's like
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of like, hey, it's like the soft counter, like if you do certain things, it's sort of like Padme versus DR, like
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you do mod it certain ways, or depending on how you play it or whatever, like you can do it. I don't know, like you're probably not going to go in and just full auto it,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
fleet. I don't think like that's happened in fleets for a long time, but um
I think it
yeah,
was
like
like
I think it's gonna be good.
I think the only time you could full auto was when it was like Falcon versus anything lesser than Falcon.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that was
I
like
think
the
that
only time you could
probably
pull it off, and that was just because
probably,
that
yeah.
ship's just bonkers.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think because I mean back then the next best thing was like the Geos,
Yeah,
and that's before their relics, and so like they weren't that, like they were tanky, but not like tanky enough to
enough
just
to deal with what
to
you're getting.
take,
Yeah,
yeah, to take Han's basic with, along with everyone assisting in there. So
yeah, yeah. It was just like I remember somebody had some pretty solid geos like way back when we had the Falcon meta going, and he could never really get to about into that top 10 just because it's like he could win a couple of fights against Falcons, but it just never
mhm.
was consistent enough that he could just climb to one or anything. And
Right, yeah,
and it's kind of an interesting one too because it's like like the bugs when I got into the game, people were like, yeah, they're good, but whatever, you just want to go for Falcon, that kind of thing. And then with GBA, they became like such more of a feature, and then obviously they
oh
shifted
yeah,
to Malevolence, and you're just like, well, holy crap,
yeah,
like,
yeah, right,
yeah. But
yeah,
ships are interesting, so I'm glad they added something for ships. I've been wanting the
yeah.
Razor Crest since season 1 from The Mandalorian came out. Since they basically released Mando and Grief, I was expecting the Razor Crest to go with the original Bounty Hunter Mando, and I was also expecting like Hondo Cap ship or something. I talked about it like maybe I don't know a year ago or something like that. But I've got an idea that actually might. I don't know if they would do it, but I think it would be cool because it's something it's a character that's not super well reliced. But like if Newt Gunray got his trade ship, the ball or whatever, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bounty hunters and cargo ships, that's where the
Right.
synergy lies, and then you have some like small separatist synergy if you want to run like geos with it or something, but before you get a Malevolence. But I was just thinking, I'm like, if Newt Gunray got a cap ship, just dropped out
Yeah.
of nowhere, because that solves the problem pretty quickly, because I mean, of course, with the trade federation, whatever, they hired bounty hunters and stuff in Clone Wars, and
Yeah.
would obviously have a lot of dealings with cargo ships. So that's something that I thought of, and I thought, man, because I know that they data mined a Newt Gunray cap ship like years ago, and it never came out.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, that would just fit. Like if they've probably already got something kind of fleshed out just sitting there. So because that could
Yeah, that would be very interesting,
yeah
actually. I was thinking like when they first released it, like when I first saw Razor Crest was released, I was like, okay. And then I obviously checked the tags and I was like, dude, I hope so bad. Like it'd be kind of interesting if it was almost like reversed. Like, you know how like in squads they have a contract mechanic, and once the contract is achieved, right, like they get a certain amount of things, or kind of getting their
yeah
reward, so to speak.
their
Be kind of
bonuses and stuff.
interesting if like they just kind of did that, but maybe like on the cap ship. I don't know, like if
Oh,
they
that'd be
did
kind of
that.
interesting.
Yeah, like if they did that and then like maybe your cap ship gains 50 speed or something, just like whatever cap ship you have. So now like Thrawn is equaling like it is the same speed or outspeeding Negotiator and Tarkin and like some of those faster ones. Like so now you're just like sitting there like annihilating and they're not able to do their like it's kind of like Holdo's like that. Like once you get, her ultimate off, it's just like you realize like how vulnerable ships are without a cap ship type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting. I feel like that would just be like and it would be forever, because like they could be hired by whoever.
Yeah, you know what's kind of crazy is that would be a really cool mechanic. I just thought of like a cap ship without an actual leader. Do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
as your bounty hunter ships do things in the battle, each ability can gain bonuses based on what you've done.
yeah, that
Like
would also be cool.
little individual contracts for each ability. Like
Yeah,
that would be pretty sick. Um,
there's a ton of I think there's a ton of opportunity for them to do stuff like that. But I mean,
yeah.
again, it would probably take a lot of testing. So
Oh
I could
yeah,
easily
yeah,
see that being
yeah.
broken.
Yeah, it could either be broken one way or the other, meaning like good or
Yeah,
bad. Could you imagine like they
yeah,
go through all this work, they release it, and then like the cap ship just gets mangled by everything? You're like, oh great,
yeah,
yeah, it's better off
yeah,
with
yeah,
Thrawn.
right.
Thanks though, guys. You know,
Yeah,
like-
right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I think in general, most people, even the people that don't truly like ships, one they wanted the Razor Crest because it's a pretty key ship in the new series,
yeah,
and the other one is just that we've been sitting on Negotiator Malevolence for since what was it, like June or whatever, July of
yeah. Like
2019.
like we're
So
talking
it's
like 18 months. This is like a really
uh,
long meta,
yeah, it's been super long.
and it's an annoying meta because it's
Yeah.
because there's no saved like the quality of life we all have been asking for forever is of course not a thing, and we can't do ship squads, and so
Hmm.
when you're switching between ships, it's just like, God, come on, just like give me just let me save two, just two.
Yeah.
I don't care about the rest. Just let me save two cap ships like with stuff,
Yeah.
like
Right.
or if I switch my cap ship out, why can't I just have the ships that I just had with it? Like
Yeah.
not the ones that were in with my other cap ship. Like I switched the cap ship, and then whatever you had with that cap ship before,
Last
boom,
time.
there it
Yeah.
is. How good would that be?
Yeah.
Like
It
how
would
could that?
it would definitely save a lot of time.
Yeah, like I've done it a couple of times. When I'm climbing and I'm just kind of like busy, and I'm like, oh, I got to get a fight in, and I go and oh right, I got to use my malevolence or whatever, and I do that, and then switch, and then next fight I'm like, oh, I gotta go again. Oh, I should switch back to my negotiator, and you like switch, but you end up sending in your negotiator with like your fucking separatist ships or something.
Separatists.
You're like, oh come
Yeah.
on,
It's like, well, hopefully unending loyalty helps us out here.
yeah, like this is gonna be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh
Yeah,
gosh, yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
fleets is just one of those things I think is very frustrating, because of how little it's progressed. So yeah,
Well,
I
yeah.
totally feel that.
I mean, it progresses at what, like a third or a fourth of the pace of the normal game, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, when Negotiator came out and was meta, like, and I've been on top of pretty much every meta that's came out. Like, I've been one of the first, like, I've gotten things on the first time around. I was still running. I probably was running Padme because I didn't use Drevin because I hated that mirror match. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
but yeah, like Drevin was our guy. Like he was the meta, And if you think about how many iterations we've gone through since then, yeah, you could definitely see like, you know, not that Dreven's terrible or anything, and I don't think that negotiate or whatever new ship or whatever the case is going to be should make him terrible. But gosh, we've gone through, you know, Padme and you know, Gas, and then the two GLs, and then the other two GLs, and you know, there's talks, you know, of something else coming out, and so it's just like, my goodness, you know,
Yeah, there's been a lot of
when is it gonna be
turnover.
a ships?
Yeah, yeah. Always a bridesmaid, never a
Yeah,
bride.
yeah,
But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, I mean, the squad game I think right now is pretty strong with what they've released recently. I think it's pretty good. You know, obviously I'm not the. It's a weird one. So like C and JML when they came out, I thought they needed adjustment. Nah, I mean they probably don't, but you know, there's still things I would like about them that I don't think are super overpowering, but because
yeah.
they're so soft on defense, both of them,
Hmm.
which is fine. You know, like you're like, yeah, well, I mean, I get that they wanted you to attack with them. They don't want, you know, entire defenses of Galactic Legends and stuff like that, which makes sense because that ruins everything that's not a Galactic Legend, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know, and like I almost feel like the Vader update was a hot fix for how strong Rey was. They were like, fuck, we got to do something,
yeah,
like just because she was so dominant on defense for like those first what 2-3 months.
yeah.
Like
She was.
she just couldn't lose really unless you were taking in Supreme Leader Kylo with the ult. That's it.
Yeah,
And yeah, and then they let out Vader, and all of a sudden everybody in the game was doing fucking handstands because their favorite character, who was underpowered, is now almost a Galactic Legend himself. You know, like,
yeah,
and you know, and then they released Luke to deal with Kylo because, of course, once they fixed Kylo, he was nasty on defense, and it was just like one of
yeah,
those where it's like I almost feel like they've been making these characters to do that, and then of course they release Beskar Mando, and he doesn't really do anything against either of them, like at
no,
all. Um,
yeah, and yeah, yeah. I see the potential in him because that whistling birds, if you can get it right, and like if you get the full stacks of it, it can actually be a ton of damage. Like, I mean, it can delete people,
yeah, he
but
can delete entire teams. Like,
yeah, but the problem is like there was a lot of ifs in that statement,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, like if this, then that, then this, then that, then this, then that, but it all
Yeah,
hinges on those ifs.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's an interesting one. So obviously we all know. I know you've talked about on stream. I've talked about on stream that we both think in EC is coming.
yeah,
The other thing that's not like we haven't had since what C3PO or Padme. Yeah, since Padme is a legendary. Like we haven't had
yeah.
a
It's been a
legendary
long
since
time.
Padme.
Yeah,
So it's like Padme's the last legendary we had. The last DC was General Skywalker. Like I keep expecting a legendary, just because of how long it's been since there's been one, and I mean EC also makes a ton of sense because now CG are going to be looking at people stacking up that get two and going, well, we got to get rid of that get two. So
yeah,
I think that's going to be a thing. I'm not sure if get one's going to get more gonna get more characters. I don't really think so.
yeah,
And the reason I don't think so is mostly because they've moved the rewards away from get one to get two. So I think that's the currency they're going to try to get people to be spending and stuff because a lot of people have shifted towards mostly G13s at this point. You know, because
mhm.
G13's been out now for what 2 years, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, probably about because I think it came out in like September of 2019, if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember right.
that's
So
about right.
yeah,
Yeah, and you get like I've worked through all the get one stuff, and it took me forever. And I'm like in my third year of playing, so um, I didn't get a chance to get stuff like Hoda and Wampa done early. So there's been ample time and opportunity, I think, to get those get one characters. And adding more is just kind of harsh on anybody who joins the game now.
yeah,
Like, oh, you want
that's true.
another? Yeah, you want another get one character? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no. Oh, too bad. Like, but I think get two.
there's
They're
another
missing some stuff.
70K.
Yeah, exactly. Here you go.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I just like I'll just always recall back to the time where it's just like Mallet came out and we were all upset that it was get one, except for the people that hoarded, and I wasn't one of those people. And so I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. And it's just like a slow farm. But like back then, again, we didn't have GOTB. So it was just, well, I think we were just about to get it.
Yeah.
And so it was like we were still scoring, you know, 7 or 8,000, whatever the case was. I don't even remember the exact numbers, but
I think
you know,
if you're
seven or
full
eight
starring
K
it, it's 10,000 with all the get
with
you can get
submissions.
from the
Yeah.
submissions. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so 10K, you know, you run a few months of that and you know, you've got yourself pretty far ahead. And probably most people didn't drain themselves to zero. I know I think I probably had 10K saved up.
Yeah.
Just because I'm always like that. I'm always like, oh, in case of a rainy day, right? Like but
And
then
Malik
I was
came
like,
and you were like,
okay,
"It's cloudy, bitches."
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was like, dang, man, this is way more than what the, like Hoda and Wampa were. So and then I remember it was like in a Q&A session, people were like, okay, so for real though, like that was kind of low blow for the people that are trying to spend your currency and stay current in the game.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember exactly how the question was phrased, but it's basically like, do you guys have plans on doing this anymore?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, no. The Malik was a, you know, like I forget why they said they, you know, made him
It was a
currency or
unique character because he is a new way of. I remember that answer because I've
yeah,
literally referred to it a bunch of times. They literally said we don't actually like putting characters into these get currency because as we balance the economy, we expect you to spend this currency on gear. So putting characters
right.
in there, we see overwhelmingly players go for the characters over the gear, and it does throw off some of our timing and such. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, nah, you put him in there to do that. You put him in there
Yeah,
to make us not buy stuff. Like,
right.
like oh, I'm
And
gonna.
then
Yeah, it's like we're gonna put the at the time strongest character in the game in a place where
yeah,
you can't really use him unless you spend this currency here, and then we're gonna, and the people who weren't spending are gonna get it right away, and that's
right.
like incentivizing not spending it, and you say you balance your economy on that being spent on gear. Okay, I see you. I see you, CG.
Yeah.
Like,
So I was the dumb guy, and I was like, "Cool, I'm so glad that like that's not gonna happen." And I'm just like spending all of it on gear. I'm just throwing it all away. Like I don't care. and and then like they're like, "Hey, there's this really cool character coming out, General Anakin Skywalker." I'm like, "Ooh, nice." And I'm
you're
like,
like, I
"How are we
want
gonna
that
get
guy.
him?" Yeah, because Anakin's my favorite character, like in general. So I was like, "Oh, dude, this is gonna be so cool." Because like all the hype was building up. You know, the Fight First got their rework, and I was like, "Oh, dude." I know we're gonna get a new Anakin because Anakin didn't get the Jedi Knight. Anakin didn't get the 501st tag,
Yeah,
but
exactly. When
Ahsoka
you saw
did.
that, you're like,
I was like,
mm-hmm.
so yeah. I was like, so some we're gonna get a new one. Like we're gonna get a new one, and it's got to be gas. Like or yeah, I didn't call him gas, but I was like, it's got to be the Clone Wars version, like the
Yeah, yeah.
that rogue version. And
Because we
like
had
you, I was
General
playing
Kenobi,
Battlefront.
so it was like
Yeah,
he was like, oh, I know what we're getting. Yeah, we're gonna have to get like General Anakin, you know?
yeah, and I played Battlefront 2, you know, we played before.
Yeah,
And, you know, I was always like, dude, I hope they bring in like this version of him, like where they, you know, they give him the armor and stuff like that. I was like, that'd be pretty cool.
oh yeah, yeah,
Uh
totally.
and then sure enough, man, it took get one again. I was like, you've got to be kidding me, right? So I've been saving it. I like I will buy some of the like especially the like med packs
Yeah,
or stun guns with it,
yeah,
but for the most part, it's been pretty much saved up just in case there is. I don't. I hope there's not, but like at the same time, like after that, I'm just like I can't trust anybody.
yeah, yeah. Like I'm not. Even though I don't think they're gonna put anybody in Get One anymore, I do expect to hold quite a bit. So the only reason I'm
Yeah.
even spending a little bit right now is I'm on the C grind, right? So
Mm,
I've
yeah.
got like Maul at G12 plus 5, and then the rest are like done except for Sidious, who's at Relic 2, and I'm just like ready to start that ticket farm. So
Yeah.
I've been spending a little bit, so I'm down to like 40,000 Get One,
Yeah.
but I've got
That's about
like
where I'm
over
at.
50K Get 2 just chilling there, and I don't really spend it on anything because there's like I just don't seem to be needing anything out of there like that bad. So I
Right.
just keep looking at that, like the fact that I don't feel the need to spend any of it, that worries me.
Yeah.
Like that's a particularly worrying prospect. You're like, I'm hoarding something and I don't have any
Yeah.
like impulse to spend it on any. There's like nothing there that I need.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It's
Like
definitely
how
definitely
much is this
yeah.
next character going to cost? It's going to be like twice what I have here, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. I hope not, but I could see it as well.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny because everyone has asked me like, okay, so why epic confrontation? Why do I think it's an epic confrontation? It's like, well, I mean, in the natural progression of things, right? Like, it wouldn't seem to make sense if they released another hero's journey because, like, again, we've already got the hero's journey.
Yeah, we just got one.
Like, we got one from the show, so
Yeah.
it's like, and that guy's proved to be good, not great, and so what's gonna take that person or team to the next level? I mean, and a lot of people, and I consider myself in this, but it's not a good reason. We don't feel like there's anything Galactic Legends worthy
Yeah,
yet
yeah.
from Mandalorian.
Eventually there will
And
be a Galactic Legend
exactly,
Mandalorian, but
yeah.
it won't be now.
But it
Yeah.
seems so short-sighted for it to be now, right?
Yeah,
Like you
it
would
doesn't
think.
make any sense. I think they tipped their hand a bit with Master Luke and Sith Eternal, where they wanted the final version of the character.
Yeah.
Even though everybody and their fucking mother would have rather had Jedi Knight Luke as the Galactic Legend, you know.
Yeah.
So having
Yeah.
like Master Luke as a hero's journey, which would make sense because he's the final iteration of it, and having
Yeah.
Jedi Knight Luke as the Galactic Legend would make a lot more sense to everybody, even if their
Yeah.
kits are exactly the same. That's the craziest
Yeah,
part.
right.
Like
Yeah.
even if they're exactly the same, it's so silly. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think with that, I don't think we should expect a Mandalorian GL for at least 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
Like,
It
cause
would be I feel like it'd be very short-sighted if they did.
yeah, yeah, and because what they're doing is they're cutting their hands off of possible like improvement or a better one later. And
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't see them doing that yet. Um,
Yeah.
I do definitely think we're gonna have 2 Galactic Legends coming. I'm not sure. Like now with the way that they've released these characters, I don't know when they're coming though. Like I don't think they're gonna be on the same cadence. I don't
No,
think we're
like
gonna be seeing them in like 2 months. I think it's gonna be like 6 months from now.
yeah, like it's certainly, there's always like people that talk about follow the trail of Kyrotech. And if you look at the Kyrotechs that are needed to gear up all those recent marquees, it's like it's quite a hefty amount.
Yeah.
And you always if since the Old Republic that led into Jedi Knight Revan, like marquees have just sort of been the breadcrumbs. Like that
Yeah.
has just been like, okay, here's some characters, and they do sometimes throw like the little bit of like, because I like with Jedi Knight Revan, I remember they're like, here's Bastila, Jolie, Zalbar mission T3M4, and then it was like people kind of forgot about them. That 6 months or 6 weeks to then another 6 weeks before them to get farmable, and then they were like, oh boom, here's Chewbacca, right? And everyone wanted Chewbacca at the time.
Oh yeah.
And then like that was the first, I would call it like hard event, like the first one where like when they said, hey, you should have some gear 12 in there, like people were like, okay, like whatever, but like realistically back then, like you probably should have had some gear 12s.
Yeah.
Like nowadays with Grief and Mando, I know people are doing it at like much lower levels, but like back then, like one, Bosk was relatively new, or maybe he wasn't super new, but like he was a hard node to farm.
Yeah.
He
And I
was one of
remember
those high
Django was
ones.
quite new. I mean,
Oh,
this
Django
is
was like brand new.
yeah, this is
Yeah,
like
he.
before my time, but it's like I remember coming into the game and everybody was talking about when I was talking about CLS and stuff, they're like, yeah, but Chewbacca's really hard, and like getting the new bounty hunters makes it a lot easier. And so I always thought
Right.
of Bosk and Django as new bounty hunters.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so yeah, they threw a little, and then 2 weeks later, Jedi Knight Revan dropped, right? And then so people were like, oh, I just spent all my gear on getting Chewbacca, and like that was only to get him to 6 stars because I mean that was a realistic thing. You had 1 week to get him,
yeah,
and so yeah. But I feel like something's got to give, like something with these marquees. or something, like, like they don't just release characters just because they feel like it. It's always like, for an end goal.
There's something involved. I mean, they do
Right.
sometimes drop marquees that are like to be a standalone. Like when you look at, when like Solo came out, they released the prepared team, and like you had Ness that was supposed to be kind of in there, but also kind of not, and that was like a marquee, and
Yeah.
like
So there's a lot of rumors on that one because there was supposed allegedly there was supposed to be a Dryden Voss
yeah,
um,
that would have been
event,
cool.
but because of the reception of that and whatnot, they decided to nix that. And so
Which is
what
too
they did,
bad because I
yeah,
I really like Solo. It's one of
I
those
did
weird ones.
too.
If it
Yeah.
wasn't a Star Wars film, no one would have put any hate on it whatsoever because it's
Yeah.
a pretty damn good film. Like it's pretty tight. Like it
Yeah.
was done. The story's fun. It's a little fun adventure kind of thing, and you've got your cheeky main character or whatever, and you got like the misfit team that comes together with him and Lando
Yeah.
and Chewie and stuff, and how they all come. I mean, if literally if you take the whole Star Wars thing out of it, people would be like, "Oh yeah, have you seen that Solo film? It's a really great sci-fi flick. It's like sci-fi
Yeah.
adventure. You should go check it out." But because it's Star Wars and it's about Han Solo, everybody's like, "Man, that was crap." It was like,
Well,
"Oh,
and
I mean,
I think too, a lot of it was still like getting hate from episode 8.
oh
Like
yeah,
truthfully,
yeah,
like there was, I mean, people
yeah,
were boycotting it for no reason. Like they were like, just boycott them.
yeah,
It's like, well, the movie's good, but they're like, they just, like that was just like back when like people were really just on the train of like, just give it a thumbs down.
yeah,
Like
yeah."
don't even watch it and give it the thumbs down because Disney killed Star Wars, and so I think you got a little bit of an unfair treatment
Yeah, I mean,
personally.
to be fair, episode 8 is the kind of flavor you can only wash out of your mouth with tequila.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I personally didn't find 8, interesting, or like maybe interesting, but it didn't seem to move a story along at all.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
for
It was
me,
just kind of like it was for me. It was a strange one when I saw it in the theater. I went. I didn't go like first day or anything, but I went pretty quickly after it was released, and I
hmm
sat down and I watched it, and I was like, "Cool, Star Wars," and
yeah,
that was it.
yeah,
And then
that,
the second time I watched it, like months later, because I didn't really feel a need to go like watch it again. Second
right,
time I watched it was months and months later, and I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, now, why would you do that? Like,
yeah,
why are we at a casino somewhere with these two
yeah,
middle characters that don't really have a lot going on in the main story?
right,
Like, one of them should have been a main character, but for some reason he's not. Like, it seemed like he was gonna be in episode 1, and then he's just not. And
yeah,
then and then you're like, then you've got this lady who, does she need to be here? Like,
yeah,
is there a function
yeah,
for her here? Like, I don't. And like ultimately, what the
yeah,
fuck are they doing here? Like,
right,
is there any way
yeah.
we could get this whole like 20-minute sequence or 30-minute sequence out of the film? No, we're gonna leave it. Okay, cool. We're leaving it. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It's kind. I kind of feel like like same sentiment with Solo. Like if it was just like if that wasn't a Star Wars film and it wasn't expected that that was supposed to be a real big explanation in between 7 to 9.
Yeah,
Like if it was just sort of like a standalone, I'd been like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I mean,
yeah. You got some
maybe
weird
not
stuff
my
there, but it's all
flavor.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe not my flavor necessarily, but like doesn't have to be. Like
yeah,
there's some neat. I like the duel, or not the duel, but the fight. In the throne room. I thought that
yeah.
was
That was the best
pretty
part.
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if it was just like, yeah, like you said, like some random sci-fi film, I'm like, yeah, dude, check it out, dude, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
But
you're like
what?
it's worth the 2 hours or whatever. Some random sci-fi film, maybe
Yeah,
you'll dig it, maybe you won't. But like, there's some cool visuals and stuff. Like you'll dig it.
yeah,
You'll dig that part of it. That kind of thing. Yeah, 100.
yeah,
Percent But because it's like the pivot between two parts of a trilogy, you're just like, what the
yeah,
shit is going on here?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
someone made a
absolutely.
U-turn and like ended up somewhere else.
Yeah, and then especially and then like what's hilarious about episode 8 is it got even worse, in my opinion. It got even worse with episode 9 because they so almost blatantly tried to ignore
So
what
many
happened in
parts.
8,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're like just look over here and just just buy that this is what the actual story is. So it's like, okay, so
Yeah, I agree
yeah,
with that. Like episode 9 also made 8 much worse. So
yeah,
like after I saw episode 9, I remember I was going to watch 8 with somebody as like they're going through Star Wars things, so we're going to sit down and watch 8. And I was just like, this one's not the best, but it's kind of fun. So like,
yeah,
because you're fresh eyes, you'll probably dig it. But and it was right after I saw episode 9, which I thought was pretty good. Like I was like, yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah,
Just like I like Force Awakens. I was like, this is kind of like a reboot of the original, so I can see why someone wouldn't like that. But I kind of dig it. It's cool.
yeah,
I would have liked Rey to be a little bit more likable, like
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah,
And I also at that time would have liked Kylo to be a little bit more likable. Like
yeah,
maybe you kind of want him to win, but in that one you're like, you're just like a whiny little kid, dude. Fuck off.
yeah,
Like that kind of thing.
yeah,
And so there was a little bit like that, but I was like, they got the cameos. I'm digging that, like that kind of thing. And then I go back and watch 8, and I'm just sitting there, like, after I watched 9, I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I don't think I can do this ever again. This is so bad. like I'm
yeah,
gonna go get a cocktail. I don't really want to see this anymore. like,
yeah. Especially because like you have
the culmination of the story, so you know where it's going, and you're just like,
yeah.
this even makes less sense now. Like,
Yeah, during some of those scenes, it's like we could literally just fast forward to the next like big thing that happens, and you wouldn't know any like you wouldn't
wouldn't miss
it's
anything.
you're not missing anything.
If you miss that
So,
whole Finn Rose storyline in its entirety, you
yeah,
wouldn't miss a damn thing from one
yeah,
film to the next. You'd just be like, man.
yeah. You
And
could literally probably like cut down episode 8 to probably I
30
would
minutes, I
venture
think.
yeah I would venture to say 30 minutes. You could
Yeah.
cut episode 8 down to 30 minutes, and it would totally you watch the 30 minutes of that and jump right into 9, and it would totally make sense. Like you'd be like, cool, I know exactly where we're at, I know why we're doing this.
Not only would it totally make sense, but you'd be like, okay, so this is how we got to here. Cool.
Yeah,
Like it would
yeah,
actually, like you'd be like, okay, so that's like the prequel for this
yeah.
episode. Okay,
You'd be like,
cool, cool.
episode 8 was actually pretty solid, man.
Yeah. Like after you watch just 30, like I want to see someone do the Phantom edit, but with episode 8, where
Yeah,
they just grind it down to the necessity. And
right.
I mean, it'd be even better if they could do all 3 and just cut out like little bits in Force Awakens and Rise of the Skywalker. But like, if you get,
Yeah,
because Phantom edit for me made me love the first 3. Like I
yeah,
liked the first 3. Like I didn't hate them. Like I was younger when I saw them, right, when they came out in the theater, so I wasn't like a little kid, but at the same time I like grew up watching Star Wars all the time. And
hmm,
they released those, and I liked it. I was all right, but like I wasn't going back and watching them because I just didn't. I was like, yeah, they're okay. Like that kind of thing. Like
yeah,
yeah. But when the Phantom Edit came out, and I watched that on YouTube, I was like, oh, holy shit, this is like awesome.
yeah,
It was like
yeah,
it was 3 hours of just magnificence, and it was like, how did you boil 3 films into 3 hours, and it's so tight, like it has everything,
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
which I thought was pretty excellent. Anyway, shifting back to the game now,
yeah.
as we deviate to talk film for a while.
Classic.
I shouldn't have brought up Solo. It happens every time.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that the EC for me makes a lot of sense because of how many things have been released that are show related. So it's
Yeah.
like you've got the bounty hunter guys that don't really have a place anywhere, and then you've got the BAM team with like Beskar Armor Mando and his guys. You've got Moff Gideon and Dark Trooper now, and you're gonna get one more Imperial Remnant. 100% that's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think it's gonna be a GL. So it's with this many characters, it's gotta be EC. It's gotta be.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, like it feels like that, right? Like I mean, it certainly feels like it's more than just like we built this up to be more than a hero's journey. Because again, we've already got a hero's journey.
It feels
The question,
like KOTOR. It feels
yeah.
like KOTOR.
The question that like I kind of posed to myself and other people is just like, so who is the EC though? Like, is it Bo-Katan, or
You would
is
think it'd
it?
have to be, right?
yeah, but you know, like, well, in some respects, I think it could be. Um, in some respects, I think it could also be Spear Bando because if you think about season two, there
Man, that'd
the
be
most epic confrontation that really happens is when we get the season two Moff Gideon fighting the Spear Bando, right? There's
yeah,
no real like point in where Bo-Katan is fighting Moff Gideon, which is where I really thought the series was going to go,
same,
like
same.
because like
For the dark
episode two,
saber,
she's like, it's mine,
yeah,
and like it's like okay, so this feels like their fight now all of a sudden, and like Moff Gideon feels like Bo-Katan's like kind of mission, and I thought like Bando was gonna go find like Thrawn or something like I didn't know exactly what was gonna happen, but it was just like that's what I felt like was gonna happen, and so yeah, like I thought to myself like yeah that makes total sense, but now that we saw that fight scene, it's like that is probably like if I were the guy that was trying to build the event, like if I took let's just say that I took Gas's epic confrontation. It's like
yeah.
phase one is you in Boba Fett, Slave One,
And
right? And they give it
the Razor Crest, because that's got to be a part of it. And then
well in the show
well,
though the Razor Crest is gone, but
yeah,
yeah,
it
like
well, I mean spoilers, but yeah, it does get blown up. And then I
oh
was
yeah,
just thinking,
sorry.
I'm like, oh, but they won't get that fast enough, right? Like it won't be out fast enough, so they couldn't put that as part of the epic confrontation, which is awkward. And I'm
Yeah.
like, So now all you've really got is Slave One.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna just put Slave One and like you fight some TIE fighters, like
yeah,
you're
yeah.
basically on approach to Moff Gideon's capital ship, basically.
And
Um
Slave One would need to be, to make this, the power that it would need to be and the investment that it would need to be, like Boba will have to be like Relic 5 plus to
oh
have
yeah,
that
and I
Slave One
think
get
like they
through.
would give you I would it would be one of those things where they potentially just give you like the event unit, which is a little bit different than what you but like you do have to have just like on the
Oh, you mean
gas one that you
just
get.
to, like, for entry, right? Like you would get
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And just
just
like the
to enter,
gas
you'd
one,
have to have like
you
Relic 5
needed
Boba or something.
yeah, you got a visually different looking Anakin ETA, like his original one.
Yeah.
And then but like it still use the same abilities and stats and stuff like that. But like this one they would probably just give you one type thing. And like so like that's phase one. Phase two is Bo-Katan, Fennec Shan. And again, this is spoilers. Cara Dune, and they're fighting their way through, they're creating the what was it called? The distraction, right?
Yeah.
Like they're fighting their way through that, and you get Bo-Katan, her friend, I always forget her name, something Reeves, right? Casca or something like that, and then Fennec Shan and Cara Dune, and then like phase three is just like Gas, where it's Asajj 1v1 with Gas, and they give you Gas, you get to use him, and it'd be like
Spear Bando
um,
v Moth.
Spear Bando v
Yeah.
Moth. And then like phase
4.
four would just be like some dark troopers or something, the platoon
I
of
was
them
gonna
or
say,
whatever.
how fucking cool would it be to be Jedi Luke versus Dark Troopers?
That would be cool. Yeah,
That'd be
I
super
mean,
cool.
it would be really cool. But it'd be such a I don't know. It would be fun, but like I feel like
It'd
they'd be
be,
like
yeah,
if
it's one of those where, like, if they did that and they locked it behind it, that'd be hilarious, because like no one would expect it. So like
yeah.
there'd be people without Jedi Luke that are like, oh, I'm gonna get him like first day, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you need a Relic 7 Jedi Luke. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it'd be cool. I mean, like that'd be what I would consider the epic confrontation of season two, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and again, like it's hard because people say, well, Bo-Katan deserves more than that, and it's like, yeah, she does. You're right. I agree with that. But at the
She's
same time,
like, I think her preeminence, like the way, like the power she has, or whatever, the that's not, none of those words aren't right. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I can't think of the damn word I'm trying to think. Her situation, her position, I guess, in this
yeah,
in Star Wars is huge. She's really
yeah,
big character. Um, but it's one of those where it's like, is it going to be like with Revan though, if they made the EC Bo-Katan? Because it'd be, like, people who've never played KOTOR don't know who the fuck Revan is. I mean,
yep,
and here's the thing: people who have played KOTOR think Revan is amazing. So it's
Yeah.
like, and it's this weird
Yeah.
thing where you have this weird disconnect. So people who have watched
Yeah.
Clone Wars will be like, "Oh, Bo-Katan, hell yeah," you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Exactly.
and you know, now that she's in Mandalorian, people will probably be like, "Oh yeah, I know she's that
Yeah.
like lady who flies, right?" You
Yeah.
know, like that. You know, she's the Mandalorian that flies.
Yeah. She's just like the random side character type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So I can see where that would be an issue, but man, it'd be really weird if they did 3 Mandalorian characters this close together, though.
I agree.
Yeah,
But that's where again, like I understand, like, or I don't even understand. Like I know that they're a business and their business is to make a product that people will spend money on.
yeah,
And like at the bottom, at the end of the day, if it truly doesn't make players quit, and they just if at
yeah,
the end of the day they just released 900 legendary characters and they ran numbers and polled people and they're like, would this make you quit the game? And like obviously I'm being a little bit facetious, but like if basically all the results came back and like only 10% say like they would be like, well, I'm just gonna
that makes sense.
put
Then let's do
900
it.
legendaries.
Yeah,
Like yeah, like because that's how we gain money.
yeah. Well,
And yeah, I agree. Like I think it's too early, but gosh, we have so many characters. We have to be getting something, right? Like it.
well, that
So
opens the door for a legendary before this EC of Bo-Katan,
right,
because
yeah,
she would work as a legendary for sure.
yeah,
Even people who have only seen Mandalorian would be like, yeah, she seems like a
yeah,
badass in the show. Yeah, you know.
yeah.
So I think that opens the door for that if they do that. Because when you said it, I'm like, man, that makes sense. It's weird that it's so close together though. Because like
Oh
Beskar
yeah,
and Ando
I
coming
agree.
out, and then that's the hero's journey, and they do that, and it's like, well, shit, all right. And then that would absolutely mean that there's going to be a Galactic Legend of them 100%. Because then it'll be like you've got the base, the marquee, the hero's journey, the EC,
And the EC,
and you get all
yeah,
3 to Relic 7, and then you get your Galactic Legend, with
yeah,
whatever else bullshit they throw at you, which is probably going to
yeah,
be. I mean, when you think about it, you might get all of Bo-Katan's faction even,
yeah, yeah,
which would be
absolutely.
kind of cool. Or or you can have her like just work with Mandalorians and give them a bunch of usability, like
Yeah,
ISC and Gar. Even though her and Gar Saxon obviously in Clone Wars were enemies,
like enemies. Yeah,
but like maybe they worked. Maybe they've buried the hatchet.
yeah,
They've buried the
yeah,
armor hammer. And
yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, something like that could happen. I mean, I wouldn't put it past CG to do something like that because it's like with with the tags and whatnot from KOTOR, like Jolie being a Jedi and Ahsoka, Fulcrum not being a Jedi, and
Yeah,
Visas not having any tags whatsoever or any,
yeah, yeah.
like you
Tags
know,
is such a weird topic in this game. People get really worked up over it. Like it's like,
yeah,
and like even like Stormtrooper Han, like he's a rebel, but I mean, I would argue at that point he's not really
a rebel at all.
anybody. Like
Yeah,
he's not.
he's just
Yeah, like
a scoundrel.
he's just like. I mean, he's literally a guy they hired.
It's
Like
like
he's
the
probably
tag.
more of a bounty hunter almost.
I was gonna say the tag that suits him best is smuggler, but it wasn't in the
Yeah,
game yet.
smuggler. Yeah, yeah,
Like if I only had to give him one tag, it would be smuggler because that's
yeah.
really what he
Smuggler
was at the
scoundrel.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, smuggler scoundrel, perfect. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I'd go light side to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, yeah, it's just like he's. I mean, him and Chewbacca at that point literally are just like they're just trying to get money.
Yeah,
I
any way
mean,
they can.
that's it. Yeah, so I don't understand like really like how he's a rebel. I mean, he's helping rebels, but again, like that doesn't that would be like saying Boba Fett gets a Empire tag because he helped them, or I guess Django did get it as separatist one, but
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
Boba Fett, he's so closely worked with the Empire for for a long time, and it's just like, well, why doesn't he have an Empire tag?
Well,
So
that's another thing that could happen. What if the EC is Boba?
I thought about that too, and that just goes back to almost goes back to kind of like my argument on like Bad Batch and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like they're 100%. Those characters are 100% coming to this game as long as the game is still around. Whenever that, but
series comes out.
It comes back to like people are like, oh, you think you think they're working on Bad Batch characters right now? It's like I don't think so, and the reason why I don't think so is because if they did, like, we'll just take Mandalorian again.
Yeah.
Season 1. If they just made a Mando, like whatever information that they knew of at that time, and they were like, hey, there's this Mandalorian that's coming in. We know this much about him. He's a gunslinger, right?
Yeah.
And if Mando, the OG Mando, didn't have that gosh, what's it called? The disintegration rifle.
Yeah.
If you didn't have that, people would be like, why didn't you include that? Like, what the hell? Like that thing. Right. So Bad Batch, there's probably like they're gonna do something cool like this season. Like, I mean, I'm sure of it. Like, it'd be silly for them not to do something cool.
It's like when it comes to these shows, I think for sure CG has to kind of wait to see how it shakes out
exactly
on screen, because like I just go back to a story I heard from one of the Game Changers a long time ago where they were talking about episode 8 essentially, and people were saying, is Snoke coming to the game or whatever, and I remember hearing from a Game Changer, they were talking to CG about it, like, oh yeah, we really think Snoke would do really well, and they're like, well, like our research and focus say that like Holdo and Rose would be a lot better, and all that kind of stuff, right? Which obviously wouldn't have been true and did not do very well. Like I can't imagine anybody wailed out on Rose or Holdo. But it's one of those, and I just kept thinking about, like, because I don't know about you, but if Snoke came to the game, I'd be like, cool, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely thought Snoke was going to be part of the Sith Eternal requirements. Like I looked around at what Sith were missing. Even though you can say he's not a Sith or whatever, but CG would call him a Sith. It's one of those. It's like I kept waiting for like a Mon Mothma character called Snoke to hit the table. And he was going to make it so like Sidious and Maul and stuff had more usability, and that kind of thing. That's what I was expecting, and I'm just sitting there, was waiting for it to drop. All of a sudden they announced the Galactic Legends. I'm like, whoa, you're releasing the requirements already? You haven't put all the marquees out yet. Only one marquee for Sith Eternal. And I was just sitting there like, wait, what? Like, what's going on? It's still then. It's like, he's the biggest character, one of the biggest characters not there. Like, you have Jar Jar that's missing and stuff like that, but I don't know.
Right.
People did not like Jar Jar, so
yeah, and again, like,
that one.
Like, if we're gonna take their track record into account, right? We didn't get General Hux until basically the brink of episode 9. We didn't get the big characters we got for episode 9 was Sith Trooper, who really had like maybe 5 seconds of screen time. And the new Poe and Finn, which, sure, they have important parts. I'm not definitely downplaying that, but like, did their kid truly, like? I mean, I don't even remember him throwing a grenade like at all. Like, I mean, and I'm not picking on CG, like, but these are the things that they open themselves up to for scrutiny. Like, if they release out characters the first time that you see them, and again, like, you if they released OG Mando, 2 episodes into the new season because they just decided, well, like, this is going to make us money, and like everyone wants that. They don't know what happens, like what happens if he became a dark side character, or what happens if he turns and or like he doesn't become a bounty hunter, like we kind of figured out. There's just so much, what happens if Grief Karga turned against him, or like all these different things.
There's a lot that could go very differently based on where the writers take it and stuff, that you don't really know until you see it. And so unless they're privy to the scripts or the actual, I guarantee you they weren't getting the shows previewed. No fucking way. Not with the way things are now. Like, I have a friend of mine who works for HBO, and I remember they stopped that years ago with Game of Thrones. She used to get Game of Thrones, the episode, available to watch only in the offices of HBO, only on their like closed system or whatever. But she could watch like 1 or 2 episodes ahead,
right?
And then all of a sudden that stopped for season 2.
Yeah,
like that was
that was
discontinued.
Like,
I think a
Yeah, for
couple,
sure.
like one got out, and that was it. It was like, okay,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah,
I mean, and I want them to do stuff that makes sense.
yeah,
If Waxer or not Waxer, if Wrecker can, I don't know, just if he has a really cool minigun, I want him to have that in game.
yeah.
I want the coolest version of the character that we can possibly get.
It's like more
And if that,
importantly, I think I want to see. I'm on the like same idea of what you're talking about. Is I want to see the characters doing what we see them do in the show.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great because that's when they do. Like, I will give props all day for they when they are able to do that. There's just small things that they put in kits that's just like, oh my god, that is so genius. Like, I love that because this actually happened. There's just, and even if it's like a 5 second or 10 second quip that happens in the movies, that this is just such a accurate thing that's happening. The generic kits are nice, right? First order officer just giving marching orders to somebody, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but it's always nice when there's just a nice little like nugget, if you will, like, just certain things in there that just like when that happens, I'm just like so happy. Like, I just get, yeah, just stoked beyond belief.
So like when I first started playing, one of the kits that really sold me on the game was when I looked at Raid Han and I saw Han shoots first. And it's like Han always shoots first, and I'm just like,
Yep.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
he does.
that's a
It's those little things like
that's the one that I
where it's
used
like,
too. Yeah.
like, yes,
Yes. Yeah. It's so, when that kind of stuff happens, it's just so awesome. Like, I
yeah.
love that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think of other ones because there's tons of other ones, but I'm just totally not like thinking of them right now.
In terms
But
of
yeah, they're just so awesome.
like the kit names and stuff, like C3PO's, oh my goodness, that's like the
Yeah. Yeah.
perfect name for it. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just like even a small thing where like when he like dies or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
he does the same like animation that he does like whenever the Tuscans beat him, and he
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like he like straight legs it back
Yeah,
and falls back. Yeah.
yeah, just
I actually didn't catch that until one of my guildmates. I was like, dude, it's so random how he does it. It's like it's actually the same motion that he does when the Tuscans beat him,
yeah,
and
when he
he just
gets
falls off that cliff.
yeah, he just goes backwards. Did it?
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, oh my god, that's actually awesome.
There's a bunch of little things like that are in the game that are really cool that I definitely appreciate, and I think that's one
Yeah.
of the reasons why some of these, like the cartoons that are aimed at like the younger audience or whatever, that we love them so much, like like Rebels and stuff, and you get all those cameos, right? Like in season 1 you got a Darth Vader cameo, in season,
Mhm.
you get there's an Obi-Wan Kenobi cameo, there's Darth Maul in there, you've got Ahsoka, like all these
Yeah.
characters that just show up for a little bit. Lando showing up is like, yes, like I fucking love that character Lando,
Yeah.
and little things like that. And you look at Clone Wars where Hondo's he's like a big factor in Clone Wars, Hondo, but
Yeah.
he's always kind of bad, and then
Right.
Hondo in Rebels is kind of good.
Good.
Like
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
that's like he's like chaotic good in Rebels, where he's kind of chaotic bad in Clone Wars, and it's kind of funny how that goes.
Yeah.
And like you look around at some of these things, and the way that like the shows do that too, where they pick these little things and give you like the little Easter egg, like
Yeah. Exactly.
for people who are really into it. So you look at I think it was I can't remember if this is true or not. I think it was Darth Revan and Jedi Revan. It's like their lightsabers are backwards. Somebody noticed
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone did notice that, and I think they changed it too. I think someone was saying that, like, yeah, like
I
it
think
was their
so.
relics,
Yeah.
I think, or something like that. It was
Yeah,
their
it was
relic.
the relic lightsabers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were the wrong ones. And,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
It was one of those. It's like I played KOTOR a billion times. I couldn't fucking tell you what their lightsabers looked like. So
Yeah, same.
so for me, I was just like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking
Yeah,
of,
absolutely.
so how excited are you for some more 3v3? Apparently, that's coming next month.
Oh god, dude.
Yeah,
I like I
I know.
love GAC. It's probably why I still mostly play the game. Like, I
Yeah.
just love Star Wars in general, but like the usually the thrill of GAC is, it's just a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and
it's the major
especially
draw
because
for
I
me.
stream. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But with 3v3, one, the engagement is always lower. Like, again, and that's a streamer thing. So like for the people that are watching, they're just like, I don't care about that part. But like,
You get more auto sets, 100%.
yeah,
And
auto sets, and it's just
people not
the
attacking.
game wasn't
That's the other one.
made to be that way, and they know it, like we know it, and so you get these like really kind of silly, and when I say silly, it's like the opposite of the conquest one. It's just like this. Why is this a thing? Like I
Yeah.
used to really enjoy it, and then like I hate to bring it always
It
back to
was
GLs, but
GLs. GLs
GLs really
changed
just made this painful because
for
there's four of them.
yeah.
There's four of them, and back when you had Drevin and Malik, like that
That
was
was
just as
bad enough.
broken.
Like
Yeah,
for me, Malik is where 3v3 went. The only season I've ever skipped was a 3v3 when I didn't have a 7-star Malik. I was like, fuck it. Like I'm not gonna
yeah,
bother. Like
yeah,
I sat the entire month out. Got trapped in carbonite. I was like, cool.
right,
I didn't even sign up for like the last 3 weeks. I didn't even care. Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it was one of those where I didn't even regret it, you know,
yeah,
and it was a strange month because that was I think the month that the Hyperdrive bundle came out, and so I remember during that month I got the Hyperdrive bundle, and it got me to relic my Padme, and then all of a sudden I had relic Sith Empire as well, but I only had a 5-star Malik. Like I unlocked him, got him to G11 and stuff, and then
yeah,
I didn't have any currency for him because I was one of those players that started just at the right time. So there's 0% chance I could have ever had Malik and General Skywalker at the same time. So
yeah,
like I'd been working on Hoda when Malik dropped, so I had Hoda at like 6 stars. He was like
right.
10 out of 100 when Malik dropped, and I was like,
Well,
well, I guess I'm not doing that guy.
yeah,
And then as soon as I was saving up and I was getting close to having enough to do Malik, but I didn't have my Sith Empire yet. And so I remember the General Skywalker dropped, and I'm like, perfect timing. So I skipped Sith Empire
yeah,
entirely and went straight to General Skywalker.
yeah. That's awesome.
And then I was all of a sudden I'm like in 3v3 I'm like, okay, so I have General Skywalker,
Yeah,
but I don't have a
but
Malik, and in 3v3 that
yeah,
doesn't
that's
work.
not gonna happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that doesn't work.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, 3v3 was always like I felt like a good change of pace. Like you do 4 or 5, seasons of
5v5.
5v5, and then it's like, okay, like one, it's kind of interesting because you kind of got to remember how to play that again.
Yeah,
And like not only will I mean you still will kind of have to do that a little bit with the 1 month on, 1 month off, but it's just I like every time, even when it is that nice like change of pace, I'm like, oh cool. Usually by the third week, I'm just like, okay, gosh, let's just bear knuckle down through this and like
you're like
let's get
just
to 5v5, man,
yeah, you're like I
because
got
this
5 more
is
matchups.
brutal.
That's it. Let's just get it done.
Yeah,
Yeah, when it was a change of pace kind of thing, that's kind of how I saw it. Like I remember there was a gap where there wasn't 3v3 for a while, and then they did a 3v3 with Galactic Legends, which was just stupid, and then they did one sort of right afterwards, and that's where I was just like, man, this is just like I didn't want to do any of it. Like I didn't
yeah,
want to do the first week or whatever, and then the one after that when I had a Galactic Legend 2. And I'm like, okay, so now when I get matched up against these GL opponents, at least it's semi fair, you know?
right.
That's when it started being a little bit fun again, but not the same way. So I'm kind of in that spot where you are. Like the first week, I'm kind of like dreading it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of fun. Like it's all
Yeah,
right. And then second
yeah,
week, I'm like, okay, cool. I have a better idea what I want to do here. So it's more like let's business as usual kind of it. And then week 3,
yeah,
you're like, okay, we're almost done. We're past the
yeah.
halfway point. So let's
Let's just get through
yeah,
this.
let's get through this. And then the week 4, you're just like,
Yeah, dude, it's such a grind.
you're like I just want this over with. Like,
Yeah.
cause here's the craziest part, and this is something that like someone who isn't streaming isn't gonna be thinking of, but our streams go like an extra hour on
Oh
3v3.
yeah.
So
Dude.
for you doing 3 accounts, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not like, oh my gosh, even creating the YouTube video for it, it's just like it's double the time.
yeah,
Like it's
I
double
always
the
feel
time.
bad. I always feel bad.
Yeah.
It's like my hour video turns into a 2 hour video,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is me going like, "Fire, okay, I don't even know what I want to use here. So what's gonna work? Okay, so we got this and this. These are what we got available. I want to use that up there, but it's like a lot of that where you're just like
Right.
allocating teams, which takes forever because like every time you win or lose, you have to like make sure everything's still
Puzzle
matching. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so for me, that's one thing I really dislike about it is and if you go and you look at like your analytics and stuff, it's like if someone's watching your full GAC for an hour, I guarantee you when it's 2 hours, they're suddenly not going to watch all of it. Like they're going to be
Oh
skipping
yeah.
ahead a ton,
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
and I don't blame them.
And I
Like I
don't
don't
blame
blame
him.
them one
Yeah,
bit.
I
I mean,
tried. I always try to tell people like, hey, I'm gonna try to invest time on the editing side, so that way, like, I can at least save you some stuff, like just fights that are just like so monotonous. But then, like, by week two, it's like in 3v3, I feel like you find your rhythm, and then that's like you stick to it hardcore. Like you're
yeah,
just like you have your counter for this team, you have your counter for that team, so it's like you just stick to it. In 5v5, it's like, hey, what am I going to do is against Geos this time? Am I going to use Treya? Am I going to use the Imps? Am I going to use Mother Townsend? Which makes the most sense here?
yeah.
But
Like,
yeah, like
what am I going to
in
need
three
somewhere
three, it's
else and all
like
that? 3v3 is literally like
exactly.
I know this team's going to work here, so let's just do
Yeah,
that.
let's just do it.
Yeah.
Yep, it is. I know it's going to be a one tap, and that will probably win me the battle
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the overall fight.
One of the things I noticed in 3v3 the last couple of seasons is even non-galactic legends, like if I set the defenses the way I like to set defense and stuff, I always get holds.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody
Yeah,
one shot me. I was one shot once in 3v3. That was it. And that's like the
yeah,
last 3 seasons of 3v3 I've been one shot once. And
yeah.
it's so weird. It's just so for me, I was just looking at their defense, I'm like, all I need to do is one shot them. That's it.
Yep,
Like, and I'll figure it
yep.
out. Like that's
It's definitely not like an
yeah.
efficiency thing. Like in most cases, it's not like getting I always forget the scoring for it, but like getting a 50 or whatever 51 is like better than you just like messing up or trying something cute and being like, oh yeah, like let me try this, and then
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it doesn't work, and then you get like a 30 the next time,
Yeah,
because that's
yeah.
like that's what it comes down to. And like, yeah, it's true. There's only, I'm not going to say that there's only 11 or 20 good leaders, because you set your defense, but like there's probably more than 22 leaders in the game, but like the quality of leaders does
Goes
start to
down
drop off like
significantly.
significantly. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this weird spot where you need to have 22 good teams,
Yeah.
or you're going light on defense or expecting not to clear, which is just a terrible thing to plan for. And you've got this spot where you're like, all right, and you have to juggle in what do they do with Malik, what do they do with their Galactic Legends, and then that
Yeah.
becomes a separate layer of what the fuck am I going to do against this guy, and
Yeah.
you get this weird thing where you're kind of prepping for it a little bit differently. I always come back to something that End All Be All said. He was like, in 3v3, he's like, I get holds on my weird teams. He's like, so I just take my Galactic Legends on offense to deal with their Galactic Legends, so I don't get stuck. Like,
Yeah.
and
That
it's,
has definitely
I,
become like the mantra for Gambit, like in
yeah,
3v3s. It's just like, just trade Galactic Legends. Like if they place them on defense, just trade them,
yeah, and if
and
they
you usually
don't,
can do it with
solo,
high
yeah,
efficiency. But yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
just if they don't place them, cool. Then get your 54 or whatever the heck
yeah,
the
yeah,
score.
you're
I always forget the
55,
scoring.
56 or whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah, whatever it is.
and I mean that's not a bad way to do it,
Yeah,
and it's so bizarre that this keeps coming out, like so often every other month, and once again, I just don't know anybody that's super enthused about it. I know people that like it, but I don't know people that are super
yeah,
enthused. They're like, oh, 3v3, yes. It's never
yeah,
like there's no one's ever really super enthused. They're just like, oh, I could do some different stuff, and I totally
yeah.
get that. I do like that it changes things up and
Yes,
stuff, but like, yeah, it's not for me. It's just not as fun.
yeah.
Like
I agree.
like just looking over the last week, when you get to like run your Vader at some Rays and stuff in 5v5, and it's a tense battle because if shit goes wrong, you're probably screwed, and there's a lot riding on it, and it's really funny because for me, I'm like, I get really excited about those battles where I'm like, all right, this is like, if this goes right, we're gonna win, and if this goes wrong, well, I had to lose sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, from my Discord, talks, like I can tell, like the lower GP guys, they definitely still enjoy 3v3.
I've noticed, the fewer Galactic Legends they face, the better they find 3v3. I think.
I think that's the key. Like I think honestly, and even the streamers that are in the Discord, like the ones that are like, oh, I love 3v, or like 3v3 is like what separates the men from the boys. And I'm like, 3v3 is what separates the people that have GLs versus not GLs. I think that's more accurate category. Like, sure, there's probably people that have GLs that probably like it, and there's probably some people that don't have GLs that don't like it. But like, if we were to siphon people off and be like, hey, you guys that have GLs, stand over here. You guys that don't have GLs over here, raise your hand if you guys like 3v3. It'd be like little individuals from like each group. Because I think like most people feel the same way. Like they're just like, it just like you love to do the Vader versus Rey. You love to bring in JKL versus SLKR because it just makes for a more exciting match, and two, it proves a little bit of finesse and skill, and
I was going to say the Ric Flair factor. When you beat a Galactic Legend without a Galactic Legend, it's woo!
Exactly.
You're amped up. It's super fun. Like that's
you take in Vader versus Rey. Most times there are times that it works out, but like like you take in a Vader versus Rey in 3v3, you're like one saber toss and it's just like, well, everyone's gone.
Like, and then you're dead. And it's that's one of the things that I find so challenging about 3v3 is because 3v3 it's like if you're not, there is no cheap counter, in 3v3, like you're stuck.
There's not,
like like when people go, oh, okay, well, if you put like a Mothma on defense, I'll just run Vader and Watt. You're like, all right, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with using Vader there, getting your 63 or whatever. That's fine, that kind of thing, or 64 or whatever. I'll make up the banners where you don't have Watt and don't have Vader for someone else, that kind of thing. But when you go to like 3v3, it's like all of a sudden that Vader and Watt is a 55.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
It's like that's a really bad spend. Like that's a really, really bad spend. Like you can do 52 with Traya and Scion if you've got the gear, like that kind of stuff. So it's like, you're pretty sure you're gonna need Vader for something else there, buddy. Like that kind of thing. But it's all comes down to like the ability to underman, and there's less there and stuff. It's so strange. And then you get people who set like the Rayhan Chewie. I think that's like a terrible team to set against anybody with Slacker for this matter with C. It's like, okay, now you're breaking up one of your best 3v3 comps that you have to have for certain teams. Your Han and Chewie, and you're putting it with Rey, and they're going to use the exact same counter. So
like that doesn't change. Like
that doesn't change what I'm using there.
It's not like I could be like, oh wow, thanks for putting like, well, because you put in Han and Chewie, now I can't use my I can't use Vader or something like that. Like I couldn't do that already. So it's
it's not like
all
my
it's
counters
like cool.
didn't work anyway. So
I'm so glad that you gave me
you could put like OG Poe and like Vet Chewie, and I'm still not able to Vader it. So what do you do?
That part, whenever I see that, I'm always just like, well, cool. Like, I'm so glad that we now know where your Han and Chewie are, because
I'm like, okay,
you're not using them on offense.
I'm like, I got 2 or 3 teams you're gonna want to meet. Like I got things that Han and Chewie will take out real quick with just about nobody, and I got a lot of those same teams are gonna be difficult for you now. Like, have fun with that.
Absolutely. We talk about this every 3v3, like on the Gambit roundtable. We're like, man, those people, like they still bought into the lie that somehow that stops the SLKR counter.
It
Which
really doesn't.
if you play it if you play it wrong, sure.
Yeah.
Like anytime that you bring in SLKR versus Ray in 3v3, you can absolutely still play it wrong. And I think there might be a bit more of a chance of that just because of the three choices that you have now, only one of them is stunnable.
Yeah.
Whereas as opposed to like if they did like the Ray, Poe, Finn combination or any other combination really. But in general, yeah, like when I see that team, I'm just like, well, whew, like I hope that you have something better for my Fin Poe team,
Yeah, that
or
post
like
sandwich is
because
going to be awkward for
I've
you.
got fast mods on some of these guys, like or even Hux. Like if you got a fast Hux, like just the fact that they're going to counter you all the time, like
It's brutal.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
Especially if you have Red Trooper with him, so it's like, man, I'm interested to see how you get through it. And then sure stuff, like I look at the they attack me and I wake up or whatever and I check the battle logs and it's like I see a 2 next to my Fin Poe. I see a 4 next to my Hux team.
You're like,
Um
well, one of those would have been solved by that Han and Chewie that you
yeah.
didn't think to take on offense. So,
Yeah.
and then I just
Yeah,
sent,
for sure.
I sent Slacker, Watt, and Hoda in there, and
Yeah.
I mean, I could have autoed it once I got Master's training on Slacker there. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I mean, like, I don't know
Yeah.
what you were trying for. Like,
For sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's definitely a different game. Those these the talks that we're having right now are like probably the most fun that I'll have. Like when I'm just like, okay, because that was an interesting choice of his. Like I hope that he can show me something new that beats these other teams. But I'm I'm pretty certain that like of all the testing that we've done, nothing really is gonna beat that except for Han and Chewie. So or whatever the team that he places.
yeah, yeah,
That part's fun, but for the rest of it, I'm just like, oh gosh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Let me drop my GL on your GL, and we'll just
We'll go from there.
we'll go the other 7 battles and figure out what we'll try to be creative there a little bit, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. I always kind of look at it. I'm like, all right, so I have decently high banner option for your GL. Do you have one for mine? We'll see.
Yeah,
Like it's something like
yeah,
that. Like what you took on offense is going to get fewer banners. So as long as I'm, not being spend like poorly elsewhere, I should be pretty okay. And you get those little things that happen in 3v3 that just yeah, you just like, all right, well, yeah, like you were saying, trade GLs and go from there.
yeah,
It's probably the best move in a lot of cases.
yeah,
The only it's like I think the only real GL that you're going to be attacking 3v3 with a non GL and being confident would be like a really weak C team or maybe a weak JML.
JML,
Yeah,
yeah,
because you can get Dark
yeah,
in there and
if you
tear it
have
up.
DR for offense, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm just
But
sitting there thinking about it, I'm like there's no real. I mean, you can do like JKR with gas and JKL and maybe take out Ray if you blast her right away, marker and go to town. If it's not obviously like the Han Chewie comp or
yeah,
something like that, you can try that JKL on Slacker, but depending on what comp
yeah,
they set,
it's
that's pretty brutal. And
yeah.
I mean, it can work, but not really.
I wouldn't count on like again, it those are the types of plays that I would do in 5v5.
Yeah,
Like whenever I'm like this, like in 5v5 when you're like this is going to be sketch but I think it can work, that's like an acceptable answer in 5v5. In 3v3 when you say this is going to be sketch but I think it can work, like in theory or whatever you say, then it's most likely not going to work,
yeah,
like because you don't have the built up support around you. Like yeah, it's just it doesn't usually work out for you in that scenario. Like
yeah.
there's
It's one
been
of
plenty of
those.
times.
It needs to be
Yeah.
your last course of action. Like if
Yeah.
you've exhausted all other options, give it a whirl. But
Yeah.
like yeah, it's 3v3 is weird that way
Right.
because people get spectacularly stuck on weird stuff. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually got stuck on And it was just because I used up all my counters, kind of thing. Like, I got stuck on, and I kind of like realized it like two battles before. I kind of like, I'm kind of like thinking like, okay, so what am I gonna? I'm kind of in the battle, but I'm also kind of thinking about my next battle too. And I remember even saying it like in one of my battles, like I just now I'm thinking about this, and like it was like I want to say it was like a newt and like B1 a GBA or something weird like that.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking to myself, I was like, we've actually used up like actually everything that I would consider like the hard counter type stuff against that.
You're like,
And so now
shoot,
we're gonna be like kind of
yeah.
forced to being use some real sketchy stuff. Again, if you're like, I'm gonna use something that's probably a little bit sketch. Again, in 5v5, sometimes that pays off and pays off in a big way. In
Yeah.
3v3, typically you're looking at like a max banners of 35, like after that. Because that's
You're
just the
like,
way it
well,
seems to work.
I hope I can at least kill one of them so I can like
Yeah.
work through the rest. Because what I know I have left, I'm pretty sure none of that's working here. Like,
Yeah, I was like running through my list, and I was like, "Wait, I think we're kind of screwed right now,"
yeah,
and it ended up being the case. Like I went in with my best team, then I went in with my second best team, and then it was like, okay, I think I kind of see like where we're going wrong here. Okay, let me just kill off one, and but like by that time, it's like I don't have any good leaders left. Like
yeah,
I
I've
had
got
relics
nothing.
left, but I had no good leaders. I was like, who am I going to use now? Like chat was like trying to help me. I was like, what am I going to use? Like I've already used. I mean, we're down to like Xeris lead now. Like,
Yeah,
and I was like, and it's just not going to work. Like they're just going to heal them up. Like we
yeah.
don't have any damage.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting when you see your opponent do something like that, where they, because of how 3v3 is, you drop one battle, out of your top 22 teams, you're now on team 23. Like that needs to get some
Yeah.
work. That's pretty,
Yeah.
that's pretty sketch no matter what it is, and
Yeah.
then and you're getting into, you drop against a good team, and you could be, really stuck. But worst off, you drop against a bad team and you can get stuck. Like I remember
Yeah.
seasons ago, this is before like was a thing. A guy had a
Mhm.
Relic Vader before Relic Vaders were a thing, and he had it with Relic Marauder and a G12 Sith Empire Trooper, and he said
Yeah.
that, and it was in the back. And I remember thinking not too much of it. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I should be. And then I remember I sent something in that I thought should win, and I got smoked like really bad. And it was really funny because I said as I was going in there, because I left it to like last, and I don't know
Yeah.
why, but like I had kind of used all my other good stuff, and it was the last team left. I'm like, as I was going in there, I'm like, you know what? I don't actually don't think this is gonna work. The reason I
Yeah.
was like, I just wasn't thinking about it, but like Sith Empire Trooper is gonna be taunted, and he's gonna be getting turn meter into Marauder, and that's a Relic Marauder, and I know he's not in a Darth Revan team, but like Vader's gonna get some dots out, and they're
Dots.
not gonna
Yep. That
go
can't be
anywhere.
cleansed.
And
Yeah.
Marauder's just gonna be picking us apart. And then like I sent in like 3 teams at it and just got absolutely dicked. And I was just sitting there, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that like it occurred to me what a bad idea like leaving that to last was after I'd already
Yeah.
left it to last. And like,
Yep. That's exactly what happened with that team. I was like thinking about it, I was like, wait, we don't have like a really good team to combat all the heals. We don't have a good team to get rid of the pre-taunt that is GBA. I was like, and then Newt in general in 3v3, I always joke around in chat. I was like, GL Newt, man. Like
yeah.
he's basically a freaking GL, man. He gets extortion out and he starts moving like there's no tomorrow, man. Like he starts throwing out cards everywhere. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah,
Um,
Newt's kind of crazy in 3v3.
he
It's
is.
an interesting one, and so when you see like a good Newt team on defense, you're always just like,
Yeah.
like okay.
You're like,
If this
whoops.
was 5v5, I know I could crush this with just about anything, but
Oh yeah.
3v3, like I remember, I think I was in Senate stream or something, and the guy had like a Relic Newt, Relic Dooku, Relic. I want to say Magna or something in there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it was something like that, and he just got flat out stuck. Um,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those where where it didn't really think anything of it, because like in 5v5 you see like a Newt team or whatever with a tank and Dooku and stuff. You're like, literally anything from like my first order up are gonna take that out. So you don't really think too much of it. And I remember I beat one that was all a G12 or something like the night before or something like that. And I was like, I used first order there last night, and so he tried it and he got timed out. Like, just got timed out. Like he just like they just timed out on crew. Like they couldn't kill his crew, but at the same time, crew couldn't move. You know, so it was like down to crew and OG really quickly. Like Fox got smoked, and it was just like one of those where you're like, I was like, well, I'm like, that's my bad, dude. Sorry. Like,
yeah, dude. Like, it's so true. Yeah, like I mean, it just goes because they work so well together. Like, you know, Newt throws out his extortion, and then it just seems like right after that, Dooku's out there ability blocking and stunning him. So now that one spreads over to someone else, and then you know, it's same thing. Or maybe you pay that one off, and they just keep attacking, you know, the guy that has the original one. So you're just like, I'm just passing this extortion around, and I'm just trying to pay him off. And like each time you're giving him more crit damage or whatever, and
they get more like speed and crit damage or whatever as it comes up.
I was like, dude, just freaking die, Newt. And then like that's the worst part. You kill him, and then he goes into stealth, and it's like, dude, freaking frick off, man. Like, I'm so upset at you.
Yeah, it is funny, those mechanics. I still remember the best team I think I've ever seen in 3v3 is that the Newt, Watt, and C3PO team. It's just savage.
That team is pretty hilarious, but
and it's funny because I saw a streamer, I can't remember who it was. I was watching a YouTube replay of their stuff, and that team was on defense, and they sent in like 4 good teams and just got smoked, and they finally just sent in like Padme and smacked it. And it was just like, I was just sitting there like, I was like, that's so brutal. Like, you don't think there's any damage there. So you're like, all right, no problem. And then all of a sudden, you're just getting, like, melted by the extortion.
Extortion's just sitting there. Like, it's just him. And it's that stupid freaking laugh, too, that he does when he does it. He's like, oh. And it's like, bro. And it's just, like, on repeat. Like, it's just happening so often. You're like, bro, this is the most frustrating
You're like,
thing
I'm getting
I've ever
trolled.
seen.
You're like the clown in Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Newt in 3v3 is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it's always fun. Any other specific teams you like in 3v3?
I mean, there's quite a few, I guess. I mean, you always hear about, like, you know, the Poggle leads. And again, we talked about, you know, Fin Poe. I really like Hux with Red Trooper and Foss.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah, that like, it just Foss or not Foss, Red Trooper in general. He just hits. He just smacks, man. And in a team where you usually, you know, you have to decide like, hey, am I going to bring in a tank, or am I going to bring in an attacker, or am I going to bring in a support? And a lot of times, like, it usually feels like the tank is left out. You know, when Hux does, you know, call to assist, and all those guys are assisting, and like Red's hitting for like 64, 65K per assist, and you're just sitting there like, okay, so that guy's gone. And then you're like, okay, well, let me start an attack on them, and then they counter you because they've got dominance. And you're like, your second guy is like looking pretty bad, and then you see Red get his turn, and he's just loading up that AoE. You're like, okay, well, so this is about to be really bad, guys.
You're like, I better just forfeit right here.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
Yeah. That's one of the teams I love setting, is that Hux team. So I always kind of looking for like good spots for it. It's one of those ones. It definitely requires something better than the sum of the parts. And for me, that's just a big win. You know, like anytime you get that, well, I need to use something really good here. If they have to say that out loud, then like, you know, you've done something right.
Right. And it's just such a like kind of crappy situation, because it's like, you want to take out Hux first because dominance, and you know, he's kind of like the engine, if you will.
Yeah.
But then you know that if you do that, you're gonna tick off Red, and then you've got this guy that's taunting too. So you got to kind of take him out whenever he decides he wants to taunt. So you're like stuck between, it's like, okay, so am I gonna get stuck behind Foss,
Well, not
or
only
should I
that.
go straight for him, or like, or should I just go for red?
Well, it's like not even that, but Fost is going to be ripping your buffs off too. So
Yeah.
it's like a big shit sandwich, and you just got to take a big
Yeah.
bite. You're like, all right, let's
Yeah.
just see how this tastes.
Yeah. There's times where I'm just like, okay, so I don't even know if this is technically overkill, but like Jedi Knight Revan feels really good here. It's like,
You're like, I don't think I need him anywhere else, so I'm just going to spend him here.
yeah, exactly. It's just like, let's not be dumb about this.
Yeah, I had something funny an opponent did last round. He set his like JML and JKL on defense, and that's whatever. It's a decent team. And then he also set his gas, and then he set a Padme team with GMY. And I'm just sitting there looking at all the characters, and I'm like, who's going with your Jedi Revan? I'm like
Yeah.
looking through his Jedi, and it was like Revan, Jolie, and a bunch of G12s. I was like, I don't think you're
Yeah.
killing anybody with your Revan. like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I think you're gonna lose whatever you think you're gonna kill with it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It was one of those. I was like, why didn't you put R2 with your Padme? That would have made more sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he lost on my Grievous. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure that was his Revan. I think that should be live. Let me check that really quickly because I've been wondering about that. Oh yeah.
Oh, the
here we
histories?
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
His
up.
histories are out. No, he tried to
Yeah.
Mon Mothma my Grievous and lost. But then he tried his Revan afterwards, but B1 was dead, B2 and Magna was dead. Okay, so he got most people gone with Mothma, and then he ran in with that Revan and actually got a win. Okay, so he
Nice.
did actually use
Nice.
him for something.
Uh, Makes sense, I guess. As long as if you kind of piecemeal it, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Ewoks can kill, most of a team, most of a Grievous team. Like whenever it's just Newt and Grievous, yeah, you just Ewoks them.
Yeah. The Ewoks are so great in 5v5 for cleaning up Grievous. Even like my G10 Ewoks or whatever will take out a Relic 7 Grievous, which is just, to me, is just
so
Looney
great.
Tunes. It's like if Grievous looks at them funny, they're all going to die.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Anyway, man, we've been chatting for about an hour and 40 now. I should probably let you get to it. I know you got a busy week, lots of stuff going on. Don't want to dominate too much of your times, but hopefully everything goes smoothly as the week progresses.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll be getting some good news in your upcoming streams about that. So
Yeah. I'm excited.
Hearing about a possible future power forward,
Yeah.
getting
Absolutely.
off on the right wing there.
Yeah, we've dubbed him Baby Commando right now.
Baby Commando.
So, yeah, so I'm excited. It's been a long road, but definitely looking forward to getting to hold him. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Don't doubt it. Anyway,
But yeah, thanks for having me on, man. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. It was I've been meaning to have this chat with you for a while, and I know I talked to you about it, and then I got busy for like a week or something, and then I kind of like forgot about it. I was like, I was supposed to do one with Ando, man. I should have done one with Ando. And then like every time I think about it, I'll be like, oh, Ando's on. I hop in your stream. I'm like, I should have done one with Ando this week, so I was like, I'm just gonna reach
It's all
out
good.
and like see if we can't make that happen this time.
Yeah, man, for sure.
But anyway, it was a great chat. Guys, you can find Ando on Twitch. It's Ando, I want to say 1990.
Yep, it's 1990.
Yeah,
on
Ando
Twitch.
1990 on Twitch. I will put the link in the description down below. So do go check him out. Say what's up. And obviously, you guys know me from Twitch. So if you weren't aware, we are changing. We have changed our time. Jesus, I can't speak tonight. We have changed our times. We're going now on Wednesdays and Fridays, right after DB Official 125. We kind of like teamed up there, so DB starts around 4 p.m. Eastern, and then he goes into it, do both of his GACs, and then we roll right into mine at 7 p.m. Eastern. So do come and join us there. It's a lot of fun. And of course, Sundays are always at our normal time, 11 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see you there. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for Ando for being on. Check the description down below. We're gonna give the links to Ando. If you don't know this man, you should go check him out and say what's up. Anyway, have a good one.